Thanks for checking out the Locked On NFL podcast on YouTube. Of course, you want to subscribe for great daily content, especially during the offseason, as there's going to be breaking news every day, it feels like, because the NFL is a nonstop news cycle. I mean, there's going to be breaking news all the time, and we're going to keep you up to date with our insiders here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And we thought that the fireworks were going to go off later today as the tampering period begins, but it started way before that. I mean, back on franchise deadline day, we had a couple big moves regarding a couple of the key quarterbacks this offseason. We thought we were done as far as the GOAT's concerned, but Tom Brady is back. Yeah. He's back. 2 months. That's all it took for him to leave the game of football, and he's returned to talk about it from Locked On Bucs. Our guy, David Harrison. David, why is Tom Brady already coming back to the game that he played at such a high level for 20 plus years?
Because he realized that there's more to life than sitting around. And, and I think the important thing to remember, you go back to the interview he did, who was it? Was Fred Couples, right? He said, I've had some weeks to kind of spend time with the family, and everybody kind of took that as like, oh, he's kind of bored of sitting at home. That's not a slight towards his family. That's just, that's people, you know what I mean? Especially when you're someone who has literally had to grind for every piece of professional respect and all the accolades that he's been able to earn. This is a man who has been working. I mean, every single day, day in, day out, whether it's football or it's his brand or it's his social presence, whatever it is, this is a man that's accustomed to working. And I think what he found out fairly quickly is that he's not ready to stop working. And there are things you can do to take care of your family. And of course, his family is going to be on board. No family is going to try to get in the way of somebody in their own family living this type of a dream and being able to do the things that Tom Brady can do. So we've kind of been saying it almost tongue in cheek, Bo, on the Locked On Bucs podcast all offseason for the last 2 months. Tom Brady never said retire. He never wrote retire in any of his social media posts. The R word never came out of the Brady camp. And there's a reason. I don't even call him unretired because he never retired.
He never went anywhere. I mean, he made a social post here and there, and it seemed like he was going away, but he's back. 13-4 last year as the starter of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, over 5,000 yards, 5,300 yards passing, 43 touchdowns, 12 picks, only finished behind Aaron Rodgers as far as the MVP voting goes. So he continues to play at a high level. Right. What do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers need to do starting today, the tampering period beginning, to start surround this guy with enough talent? Because last year was like, let's just run it back. And I don't think I've ever seen a team run it back the style that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did last offseason. Right. What's this offseason look like?
Yeah, you're not going to be able to bring everybody back. I think that's kind of number one. So you've got to prioritize things. And I think when you're talking about bringing back the greatest quarterback of all time, the greatest quarterback in your franchise's history, even though he's only played for 2 years in the franchise, so many franchise records set by this. I'm going to call him young man, even though he's not young. Ryan Jensen. Ryan Jensen has to be the priority. You can't imagine Brady wants to come in and break in a whole new center. He wants his Pro Bowl center, his Super Bowl champion center back in with the Buccaneers. And honestly, I can't imagine that Ryan Jensen's not going to want to come back. So they're both sides are going to be amicable. Both sides are going to want to get a deal done. I imagine this brings back Ryan Jensen. And then you have Rob Gronkowski, his best friend, his good buddy. The writing was on the wall that Gronk was going to Buffalo, homecoming, play for the hometown Bills, maybe bring a Super Bowl championship there and then retire on his own. But this is Tom Brady. This is that their relationship goes back very, very, very far. Not as far as hometown, Rob Gronkowski goes back, but you have to imagine this is going to mean a whole lot to Gronk. It might motivate him to also come back for the Buccaneers. And a lot of people are going to say Chris Godwin right off the bat has to be the priority. But remember, I know you know this, but any listeners, they've got till July to really put together a long-term deal for Chris Godwin, and they don't have to be under the cap before then. So they have time to work with Chris Godwin and get the money right to where they need it. But those two players, Rob Gronkowski and Ryan Jensen, I think Jensen's number one. Gronk has to be one alpha. After that is getting as much of the defense back as you can. And best news ever, Bo, all the draft capital is still in place. Now you can make the moves you need to refill as you need to. We're not trading 3 firsts. We're not trading 3 seconds. We're not trading Devin White for anything because Tom Brady's back.
Does Ali Marpet get back into play? His offensive lineman that retired shortly after Tom Brady looked like he was?
I have to wonder that. And I have wondered that personally. No, I don't know that there's a sign that would happen. I feel like if Ali was reading the tea leaves the way that everybody else was, maybe he kind of, again, there's no reason for him to have retired when he did, unless he kind of had that feeling. And then, of course, on social media, he took a snap of him writing out on a blank sheet of paper Dear Roger Goodell, I am planning to retire Ali Marpet because the NFL needed it in writing. So, I mean, he's actually said the word retire. He's actually taken some steps. But, I mean, look, just like Tom said, right? Never say never. Now that Brady's coming back, maybe Ali has a change of heart. Maybe he decides, you know what, let's do one more year as well. And he comes back. I mean, that would be the cherry on top for Buccaneers fans, to tell you what.
Sure. And it doesn't have to be now. I mean, it could be during the regular season. He could
Absolutely
just get that phone call from Tom Brady and say, hey, we need you.
Yeah.
And how do you say no to Tom Brady, the GOAT? You know, as far as how business works in Tampa, you know, there was the weird reports about how there was some sort of a rift between him and Bruce Arians. Does anything change as far as how things operate in Tampa Bay as they run it back for a third time now?
No, I mean, this is the third year. They know each other. They kind of know what the score is. They know who needs to have what type of influence and role. They've been working together long enough. And again, Bruce Arians has said, we're going to leave the light on, leave the door open, all the analogies you can come up with. Byron Leftwich is coming back. They're all, you know, again, you don't have to be best friends to work together. And I'm not saying that they're all best friends inside that room, but that's not necessary. What needs to happen is you have some sort of professional respect for each other. There was talks that maybe, you know, Tom wasn't happy with the way that things went down with Antonio Brown. And I'm sure he's not 100%. And with every situation, you usually have, you know, side A, side B, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. Both sides probably have things they could have done better. But, you know, I think Tom also knows that Antonio Brown has just as much to do with his downfall as maybe, you know, the Buccaneers or head coach decision here or there. So I think professionally speaking, we can move past all of that because, and again, before any talks of him being traded to the 49ers come up, his social media post was him in a Buccaneers uniform at the line with his Bucs teammates and his family all donned in Bucs gear. This guy's not going anywhere. He's coming back to Tampa. They're going to run it back. And that's what their goal is going to be.
Anybody checked in on Julian Edelman lately? Is that a possibility?
Hey.
Be nice playing the slot for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, they could use it.
Man. Just firing it up as far as the NFL offseason goes. It's going to be important to be locked in the Locked On Bucs all offseason long because things just got a lot more interesting. Look, quarterback battle between Kyle Trask and Blaine Gabbert potentially is fascinating, but it doesn't even touch the GOAT being back, David.
Yeah, absolutely, Bo.